Welcome to our passport signing. We're issuing some Aboriginal Nation passports for people seeking asylum, refugees that have been treated pretty badly by the colonial regime, and that's what it is. Indigenous people have never ceded the sovereignty over these lands. We're the responsible authorities over here, this country and its customs. We always have been and we always will be. What do you do when people need help? You look after them, don't you? Now they've travelled halfway around the world, a lot of these people, in very desperate conditions. You know, there's life and death there. And what are we going to do? How's history going to judge this country? You know? Well, we want to make it clear that the Aboriginal people, the true sovereigns of this land, are offering them a passport to enter into our territory waters and our land.
Solidarity for a group of asylum seekers who had been occupying their boat in Merak harbour, Indonesia. These refugees were on their way to Australia when Kevin Rudd personally requested that their boat be intercepted and taken back to Indonesia.
The behaviour of this country, for the first time in 35 years, I have felt ashamed to call myself an Australian. And I will not stand here allowing a bunch of hoodlums who run this country and further hoodlums who are waiting to take over, to drag the country in the mud, a country which has looked after me for 35 years.
That's why we're here. And we're sending out the message that we welcome people. Our brothers and sisters, aren't they? Human beings. Now we had a big issue with establishing that we were human beings in our own country for a long time. Still hasn't dawned on these people. We are human beings.
Like it says in the so-called government's national anthem, you know, to those who come from across the seas with boundless plains to share, we have got plains to share. We have got a life to share.
Now, these coming back to the Merak-based refugees, why they left Malaysia to come to Australia? Now, why would they leave an Asian country and come here? Simply because in the Asian region, only Australia, New Zealand and Cambodia have signed the UN Convention for refugees. So if they're in Malaysia, they will not be treated humanely. They will not be able to work there. Their kids will never be able to go to school there. Of course, they want to go to a country where they can earn their own living and their kids can go to school. So they get on a boat, they come towards Australia. They're 45 nautical miles away from Australia when Mr. Rudd makes a very personal phone call to the President of Indonesia to drag them back to Indonesia, to a country that does not recognize refugees, that talks about them as illegal immigrants and puts them in detention in jails. So we pushed them into that situation. So these people did not get off the boat and they said all they wanted was, we want to be processed by the UNHCR to determine whether we are real refugees or not and resettled in the country. What's so wrong about that? They said we don't want to get off in Indonesia because we never wanted to go there in the first place. Indonesia does not want us because we did not sign the Refugee Convention. So we would like Australia to take responsibility. Or Australia should openly say, we are not part of the UN, we are not signing the UN Convention. You cannot have double standards.
You may be aware, you may not be aware that Australia's an illegal occupation. They haven't got a proper jurisdiction in this country, and the fact that Indigenous people have never ceded their sovereignty over these lands. So it's not up to colonial illegal occupiers to decide who comes to this country. It's up to the people who are the true sovereigns, custodians and the caretakers. It's their call, and we're just a little bit sick and tired of the way this racist colonial regime operates on our land. So we're sending the message out to all the refugees out there. If you're genuinely seeking asylum, you know, contact us and we'll provide a passport for you.
Both the Labor and Liberal parties recognise that the refugee issue is a divisive one. And in the context of a world economic crisis, it's understandable that people are concerned about job losses, are concerned about the housing shortage, are concerned about access to services like healthcare and transport. But the question is, who is responsible for these problems? who keep our rents high, and it's not refugees who keep our public services underfunded. All of these problems are a result of a system that puts the pursuit of profit before all else. And it is this same profit-driven system that causes the displacement of people in countries like Sri Lanka and Afghanistan. Not only is the Australian government punishing those fleeing war and persecution, but they're actually contributing to the conflicts that are forcing people to flee their homes. The Rudd government funds the brutal Rajapaksa regime in Sri Lanka, overseeing the violent oppression of Tamil people. And the Rudd government continues to support the US-led invasion of Afghanistan.
Well, what sort of country is this? It's the same country that won't let people who are fleeing war zones into this country to seek asylum. And 200 years ago, when the first fleet arrived here, we allowed them in here. When we first seen them, we thought, my God, look at these people. They're so dehumanised, dispirited, and because they were so pale, we thought they were like ghosts. But we let them in our country so they could heal themselves and sort themselves out and move on. But that wasn't their intent. And I don't believe that's the intent of the people in these boats here today. It's not the same intent. Right? They're not terrorists. They're just men, women and children looking for asylum. And if you ever look at the Indigenous people in this country, we're living like refugees too. I don't know if you've noticed that, but we're the colonised refugees. This is our land. This is our law. And that's one of the reasons why we're here today. Because we know people are fleeing persecution. They're fleeing genocide in their own countries. And a lot of the time, it's because of this racist regime here in Australia.
I did not think that here was a country that would blatantly spit in the face of the UN Human Rights Convention, the Refugee Convention, and the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child.
These are human beings who have not done anything wrong other than to claim refuge, other than to run away from a genocidal government. Australia's happily saying it's got nothing to do with us. Australia's forgetting it's our phone call that put them in that situation, and Australia even funded them to be taken off the boat to Tanjung Pinang Detention Centre. So Australia gets involved when it wants to, but when it doesn't want, says it's not our problem, it's an Indonesian problem.
Are these passports accepted internationally?
In many countries they are. Some countries don't accept them. Probably the worst country is Australia itself. They have trouble of recognising the rights of the First Nations in this country. They've always been denial of their rights. So obviously they're the ones that got the problem. But I know that Vanuatu got stamped in, Papua New Guinea, Dutch, Sweden, many other countries are now stamping these passports, so it gives them some legal credibility in terms of the international law.